Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Shared Screens Halo Infinite Spoilercast. My name is Chris LePack, aka RumblePack92. Joining me today, we have Austin J. Ernst, Alec Bobko, and the one and only Chance Carter. How you boys doing today? Everyone feeling good? Feeling right?
Sure, I'm here.
Doing
That's
great.
fun.
Sure. Okay, good. Yeah, that's awesome.
Ready to talk some
We got the high
Halo.
energy today, baby.
Chris, I do need something.
What do you need?
Uh-oh.
I need a weapon.
I need a weapon.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Bro, we're here to talk about Halo. Let's fucking go. Get that blaster. We got to hold them the whole time.
All right. So,
The whole time.
So before we get started today, just some real quick housekeeping. If you're watching this at the day it goes up yesterday, we just debuted a brand new episode of This is the Waypoint talking about the Book of Boba Fett, episode 1. We got brand new merch with our new This is the Waypoint logo on it. So we'll have a link in the description. Please go check that out. If you guys like this show, you like us for some reason, and decide, hey, I want to support them. They're pretty cool, I guess. You can always like, subscribe, buy merch, hang out, talk to us on Twitter. Whatever you want to do. We're here, baby. We're here to talk to you about the things that we love. Now, with that out of the way, let's talk about Halo Infinite, baby. I figured today,
Let's
seeing as
go.
this is a spoiler cast, we'll talk mostly about the campaign. I feel like multiplayer, that'll probably come up a lot more in our Game of the Year discussions once we get to those. So,
As
we'll,
we all
we'll,
nod.
we'll
Little
save most of
foreshadowing.
our extremely excellent impressions on Halo's multiplayer and talk about Halo Infinite's extremely excellent campaign. Because boys, I loved it.
Oh yeah.
I thought it was a damn blast.
Had a great time.
This
Go ahead.
Austin, did you? So I want to hear Austin's expanded thoughts. Just because I know that you're not as into Halo as like Chris is per se. So like just as like I feel like you can give us more honest opinion.
I'm gonna need you to tell it the chief though when you do it. Okay, you let him know.
Oh no. Oh no. Don't
Right to his face.
Don't tell it to me. Tell it to chief.
Right to that big golden eye.
Hi, sir. Hello. A big fan. I don't have in-depth because, like I said before recording, I don't have. I rolled credits a while ago, so I'm gonna have to be caught up. But the one thing I will say off the top is that it felt like I was a kid again. Like it
Okay.
felt like that era of Halo, and I
Okay.
feel like we all share that sentiment. That's how I felt. It felt like Halo 3. Honestly, I got most of that, but just kind of mixed with like the first level of the original Halo, kind of
Uh-huh.
like where you're just going everywhere and doing whatever you want, kind of discovering things. That's how I felt playing this, just like on next gen, and that's
Hell yeah.
pretty much what I wanted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alec, what
Yeah.
about you, man? Give me your general thoughts.
Yeah, so I absolutely love this game. I wasn't open world games tend to be hit or miss for me. Like sometimes I do, like I did Breath of the Wild and do like a bunch of the side stuff, shrines, then all the main missions. Then there's other stuff like the Far Cries where I kind of like dabble with the side stuff and then just kind of mainline it. Halo was more like Breath of the Wild for me, I should say Halo Infinite was more like Breath of the Wild for me, where I love to do all the side stuff, get all the cores, get all the multiplayer lockers stuff, all the FOBs, the bases. It was all
the
just a
HVTs,
blatch.
SOBs.
HVTs, yes. Although,
Yeah.
screw Myriad Hunter builds
Ah!
because that was the one that I had the hardest time with.
Are those the red ones?
The hunters.
Yeah, it's 100.
The high value targets.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Ugh.
There's 2 hunters it's more or less them that are guarding a skull. I don't know if you've gotten to that skull yet.
I have seen that. I saw them, and I turned the other direction.
Yo,
no.
I said I'll try, and then I had to go back to an FOB and like rearm.
You're talking about the ones that are on like the super like north part of the of the map, right? So there's a high value target that's at the very top of that, and I was headed that way, and then I saw like this big canyon, and I went, "Ooh, I bet you there's something down there," and I dropped straight down, and so the 2 hunters were in front of me, and there was just canyon wall behind me, and I went, they turned around, and I went, no, and I just grapple hooked the fuck out of there. I was like, no, I'm not dealing with this today. Absolutely not. Because I had just gotten to the point where you fight like the first pair of hunters. And they gave me a hard enough time. I was playing on heroic, and they gave me a hard enough time to where I was like, I'm not dealing with this right now. Just left. I haven't gone back.
I'm not dealing with this.
No, absolutely
Shout
not.
out to the grapple.
Shout out to the grapple. Trust me, we'll have a whole
Yeah.
segment on
Oh,
the
yeah.
on the grapple. Don't you worry. But Chance, give me your general thoughts on Halo Infinite's campaign.
This has felt like the first actual sequel to Halo 3, in my opinion. Like, this is the first one out of Halo 4 and 5 where it's like actually felt from the ground up like a Halo game. 343 has had like a really hard task of taking something that wasn't technically theirs, that is like the cornerstone of Xbox, and trying to continue it. And by God, they found it with this one. Like, I, from stem to stern, I absolutely loved it. Mirror Austin's thoughts of, I felt like I was in the 8th grade or whatever grade, and the Halo 3 had just come out and I couldn't just get enough of it. I really liked the open world. It wasn't necessarily like, it wasn't as much of a character as I wanted it to be, but it didn't need to be because there was so much character in the world with like all the crash ships and stuff. I love this game. I absolutely adore this game.
I was worried going into the open world, like how that was going to mesh with like because the combat in Halo is very precise in the way it feels, not necessarily in the way it controls and shooting, but just the way it feels. It's so sound, and the
Yeah.
open world do whatever you want. I was kind of worried about that, and somehow they nailed it. I honestly don't know how they did it. Like I really
Yeah.
don't. And I was worried because like Halo to me is like corridor shooting. Like you go through, you go
Right.
point A to point
Yep.
B, and you
Very
keep going
linear.
on. Yes. I
Yeah.
was worried that was going to not be here, and I'm so happy that there are specific segments where that's just there. That's the entire thing, and you're like, oh my god, I love this.
It's a great blend. They really, I think, threaded the needle on that, and that's a point that you're going to hear me touch on a lot because I think they did that in many ways. Just like some my personal quick thoughts on the campaign to kind of give you my impressions. I do kind of want to quickly walk you through my own history with Halo because that applies. But I mean, I've been here since day one. Picked up an original Xbox like first day. Been playing the original game. I played all of them except for Halo 5 because I did not have an Xbox One. And I was in what is apparently the minority that really enjoyed Halo 4, which was technically 343's second outing. They did the Combat Evolved anniversary. That was 343's first Halo game. And I really loved Halo 4's campaign because they started to like, pull some things from like the expanded universe in the lore and made Chief less of a window for the player and more of a character, which I really liked as somebody that reads a lot of the novels and comics and things. Uh, but there was always something that was still missing. Like they changed their art direction, kind of wanted to take it in their own way, and then Halo Infinite hits, and it's this perfect blend of new art style with old. The soundtrack is new tracks mixed with old themes. Like the gameplay itself is like the second level of the original Halo game, where it's like, hey, here's your objectives. You can tackle them in any direction you want. But then once you finish that, here's another linear section to go through. It's like I think they finally hit the nail on understanding Halo's DNA, and really just kind of meshing everything together with this really concise emotional story, but still kind of that power fantasy where you're just a walking army as the chief, and Chief knows it. One of my favorite lines in the
Mhm.
in the campaign is like Banish is doing something, and the weapon is like, what are they doing? And Chief goes, making a mistake, right? Like,
Yeah. Dude, the amount of hype lines in this game is it's ungodly, and I loved
The
every single
missions
time.
change. They always do.
I
Yep.
get chills every time. I get chills every time, bro. And yeah, I adored it. I think that the way that they sort of pivoted from a really controversial story point in Halo 5, I thought they actually did really well. I know some people might be a little mad that they almost like Rise of Skywalker it and kind of just said no and went the other direction. But I think they did it in a way that works and makes me excited for what comes next.
So is the
Uh,
weapon's name Cortana?
yes,
Ah,
weapon's name is
fuck.
Cortana.
No, should I? God damn it!
I was
It's
hoping
very much what they imply at the end of it.
I was
Yeah,
hoping they
that's what I
wouldn't do
thought.
that, but they basically without doing it resurrected Cortana.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
just saying.
in a cool like the Mandalorian and the child kind of way. It's just younger, more naive, still kind of learning all these things, and you have this old grizzled fighter. Like I love that dynamic. We kind of see it everywhere these days, but
Yeah.
it's still works for me, man. I haven't gotten tired of it yet.
You talked about lines like one-liners. I don't remember the exact words that were used, but it's between Cortana and Chief, and he's like, "What? You don't trust me?" And he's like, "I want to." and like
Yeah.
that hit me so much harder than I expected it to. Because again, I only play the campaigns. I don't play multiplayer. So like Halo to me is the relationship between Cortana and Chief. That is Halo for me.
Yeah.
Period. Nothing else. And hearing that line in a shooter of all things, and it got me, and I'm like, they did it. Like I can't stress that enough. They freaking nailed this story, and they saved.
And that
In
I
my
think
opinion,
is.
they saved Halo. Like they did.
Oh
it.
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh,
Oh
yeah.
yeah.
Oh,
Because
yeah,
this
for
game
sure.
needed to be good. It's like
Oh,
if this
yeah.
one wasn't good, I think Halo was done.
Oh, for
You
sure.
know?
They were gonna put it on ice for a decade, without a
Yeah.
doubt.
Yeah, and I love that you bring up that line too because I think that's one of the like the really great examples of how they managed to take Halo in a new direction without necessarily ignoring some of the stuff that happened in Halo 5. To where 343's games in particular really kind of made the relationship between Chief and Cortana like the central like emotional point of the entire thing, which is perfect because it kind of already was that even in the original Bungie games. And I thought that was just a great example of not ignoring what happened in Halo 5. Yeah, it's you look at 4, he's trying to save Cortana. She's going rampant. She's going to die soon. He's trying to get her to Halsey, and she sacrifices herself to save him from the Forerunner dude whose name I can't remember off the top of my head. And then in Halo 5, like a part of the fragment that she made in that sacrifice, like is still alive, decides, hey, AIs should rule the world, and that's going to mess with Chief a little bit, who tried everything to save her, and he feels like he's responsible now for this Cortana that's there and doing all of these horrible things. And so when he has this new AI who becomes Cortana, and she's like, "Why don't you trust me?" And he's like, "I want to." He's like, because he can't bring himself to do that again. And I think they did so much with so little, because he doesn't have a lot of dialogue in this game, Chief. But they do such a great way of really showing what Chief's going through and experiencing throughout the entire thing, especially when you come across like dead Spartans and stuff. Like you can just
I love those
feel
moments.
you can
Even-
feel the weight that Chief carries on him the entire
Even
time.
with Echo 216 too.
Yeah. So I have a question. Oh, go ahead, Austin.
No. Go ahead.
Did you hate that he laid I forget his name. I don't really care to remember it. He was a dope villain. The brute dude. Did you hate that he laid him down? Because I secretly like I understood it. Like
You
It's
mean
one of
way
my
that-
favorite moments in the entire
near
campaign.
the end?
okay, because like seeing the hate for
Mhm.
that, yeah, at the end when like he kills him or like they're done fighting and like the weapon asks, I saw a bunch of hate for it on Twitter and I was like, that makes the most sense. I feel like if he would have just like spit on him and like kicked a little dirt as he walked past, that would have been weird.
Let me start out by saying that I think Escharum, the brute leader of the Banished, is the best villain in all of Halo. I'm just throwing that out there right now. I think he is
Yeah.
the best one there, and that line I think really one shows a great part of it, Chief. But I think that also the way that it works is yeah, he lays him down, and then Weapon's like, what are you doing? Why are you showing so much respect to him? Or maybe Echo 216 was, and Chief responds, he's like, at the end of the day, he was just a soldier doing what he thought was right. And instantly I was like, yeah, like that, because like 20 minutes later you find out that Cortana like bombed his home planet.
Yeah.
Thank you. I was waiting
Blast-
for that.
blew it
I was
up.
waiting for that.
Blew it up, and in that moment it's like that moment contextualizes that where because Chief already knew that information, we as the audience didn't.
Yeah.
But in that moment it's like you realize, it's like, damn, Chief essentially is like, that would be me. He's like, he realized that could be me. And I mean, he kind of has already come and wiped out all the Covenant. He's destroying Banished left and right. I think he sees a lot of himself in Escharum, and at least like kind of has that respect for him, because he's like, I don't like hold hate for him. He's doing what I would do if I were in his situation.
I think there's even more to it too, because you said there was the word respect was used in the game, and because Escharum was like sick
Yeah.
or something,
old.
so like
He was dying or
Yeah.
something.
he was dying, so like giving him a like soldier's death is like honestly the best way, because don't let that don't let that brute man die of his sickness or being old or whatever
Yeah.
on the
Let him
battlefield.
go out.
He would hate that. Like that's not
Yeah.
that's
I
not how you
mean,
show
he
respect
even
in that way.
knew no matter if he won or lost, he knew that this was going to be his last fight.
Oh yeah.
He says that in
Yeah,
the campaign.
Yeah, when he cuts a WWE promo,
Yeah.
like when you're
Yeah.
taking
I
out all
loved
the
it.
AA towers, it's so good. The
Yeah.
delivery of "Bury Your Fangs" lives rent free
Sure.
in my head, dude. I think
You-
about it all the time.
It did take me out of the experience, but I didn't hate it. Like I was kind of like, is this happening?
Yeah,
but I loved it on screen. You know what I mean?
I love it. Yeah, it's
The room
so hyped, dude. I was
darkens.
like, let's fucking go. You
Yeah.
know, I was just like, I'm ready, man. Let's fight.
I do
Uh,
want to bring it back real quick. You mentioned how Chief doesn't have a lot of voice lines in this game. And I agree with that 110%. But I kind of feel like he has the most he's had in a game.
it's
he's got
definitely
less
more.
than he does in 4.
Is it 4?
4, he
Okay.
spoke a lot.
4 and 5 are a blur to me. So
Yeah,
Fair.
because I was gonna
Honestly,
say
fair.
he talks a lot more than it feels like he would in like 1 or 2, or not.
Yes.
Maybe not a lot more. It felt like it wasn't a lot, but it was more than I was expecting.
I feel like it was probably a little bit more than I was expecting, and I feel like it had more weight than
Yes.
it usually does. Whereas usually they're just kind of like cool one-liners implying what he's going to do next. Whereas here there are weight to his
Mhm.
words because we know what happened. We know what he's going to go do. We know why he's doing it. We know what happened to the previous Cortana. Blah blah blah.
I do like how like mid campaign they like mention that it's only been 6 hours since he's come back, and just that kind of contextualizes like how quickly this is all happening, and like just how quickly.
That one threw me out of it a little bit because the game does have a day-night cycle
Yeah,
in
yeah.
it, and I spent hours collecting everything just like Alan did. So by the time we got to the point, what's it been, like 6 hours? I was like, no, it's
It's
been
been
like a week.
16 days.
Well,
Mhm.
like, that depends. I mean, that if you want to go like space logic, that depends on how
And how
that
quick, yeah,
works
that's a
on
good
the
point.
Halo, I
True.
guess.
True.
Yeah,
Like
what if
a
that's real
day
time?
cycle could be that wouldn't work.
So
But a
is that
day
why
cycle could be like an hour. Like I don't know.
Yeah. Is that why
He
there's
said, he's like, what's it been, like 6 hours? And I was like, I have 12 hours in this campaign, sir.
So
I
that'd
would
be
love if he like kind of like Kojima did. He like pulls down your playtime. He's like, oh okay, and then puts it back up.
What's it been? 12 hours and 32 minutes since I met you?
I would have
I'd
loved
say
that honestly.
what or real quick, if you can remember about how long did it take you to beat the campaign?
like not counting doing all the side shit, or like all of that?
All of it.
Oh.
How long did it take you to roll credits, basically?
I think I
30?
spent around 22 hours, but I did everything, like, or most things. I haven't collected the skulls yet. And we can touch on that in a minute, but yeah, about
I'd
20
say-
to 22 hours.
I think I was between 25 and 30.
Wow. Okay. I started off doing everything, and then I said screw it, and I just mainlined it. So I'm around 15 to 18 hours. So
Okay.
to me that makes sense.
I
It's
have
definitely
no
the
idea.
longest one in the series.
Yeah.
Like by a good wide margin. Most of them, I
Although,
think, are like
if you
6 to 8
mainline
hours.
it, I could see you getting an 8 to 10.
Yeah,
Yeah, I started
I'm
off
sure you
like I'm
could.
gonna do everything, and then I just pivoted. So.
There's
Yeah,
the
I'm sure if you just,
achievement
like,
to do
ignore
it
all the
in
fobs
8
and stuff.
hours.
Oh,
All
Oh,
of them,
okay.
and so I'm wondering if that, like, if the whole campaign is only supposed to take 8 hours, and that's why there's that achievement. I don't
Maybe.
know.
Or
My
maybe
weird
it's
brain.
just like an old school thing, like, hey, play it in the amount of time it would take you to do like an OG Halo game.
it's the one sitting. You got a liter of Mountain Dew and a bag of Doritos. Like let's
And
go.
like, yeah, I'm cranking it. I don't know that I'd be able to play it without like fully upgrading my
The
grapple,
grapple
at
and
least.
thrust.
That's
Yeah. Oh,
Or
can we just talk about grappling up the side
Absolutely.
of a cliff face, dude?
Yes.
How often did you do that? Because I found myself doing that more than
All
driving
the
anything.
I hardly
time.
used vehicles, yeah.
Same.
Yeah.
I just
Same.
ran.
Anytime I saw a banshee, I was just like,
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Come here.
So
Yeah.
I put
oh
it,
yeah, I would miss all the time. I just kept going. I kept trying. I'm
Like,
getting.
you
I put it-
close, you bitch.
I put a tweet out a while back where it's like the horses in Skyrim were basically that same thing where you could like basically walk up vertical mountain cliffs. The grapple shot lets you do that same thing.
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah.
what
I would. Sorry, I'll let you go to this.
No, you're
I,
good.
For the most part, avoided vehicles except for ghosts. I just really like ghosts. If I see a ghost,
ghosts
I'm
are
like,
very good
I'm
in
I'm
this
getting on
game.
this bitch. Like,
And it's
I
just
really
OP.
enjoy those.
It's easier to take out
Those are very-
enemies and
Yeah, I think the grapple hook might be the best thing to happen to Halo ever.
100%. Like,
yeah.
real quick, I just want to mention, and I'm sure you can go into more depth because you know how to articulate this, but just the way that they were able to take Halo and modernize it and make it faster, but still like the chess match that is like every encounter. Oh, beautiful on the multiplayer side and on the campaign side.
So I'm
Yeah,
glad
that's-
you brought that up because I did want to kind of talk about like the sandbox of Halo and how it works, and this also kind of meshes into like some of my thoughts on the open world in the game to kind of bring it full circle back around to where yeah, and like you, Austin, initially when they said, "Hey, we're making an open world Halo game," I went, "But why? Um, why
You
would you
didn't
do
have
that?"
to.
Yeah, yeah, you don't need to. And a common criticism that I see in a lot of reviews and discussions around the game is that there's not like a ton to do within the open world, which I kind of agree. It gets a little samey. You know, it's like
Yeah.
either go here, kill targets, go here, collect things, and I'm like cool. But I think what the difference is, and or at least what kind of gets left out of those conversations, is that doing that is still fun because the gameplay of Halo is so good that it doesn't need to have like these like all of this extra stuff where even if it's like, hey, go collect this Spartan point to upgrade something, and then I go down there, it's in a cave and there's enemies everywhere, and I know that I have to get to the end of this cave to get to that point. I got to fight through waves of enemies, and phantoms are coming in and dropping more. That's just so much fun that I don't care that I'm kind of doing the same things over and over again, because you can tackle any situation in completely different ways and try a bunch of different things. I was also forced to redo a lot of fights because I played on heroic, and heroic don't fuck around in this game,
No, it does
man.
not.
I mean,
I
even
thought
normal
it was like,
doesn't.
yeah.
I just
I
want to
thought,
add that I always play on easy, like always play on easy, and I was like, nah, fuck it, I'm doing normal, and I did it, and that for me
well,
that
yeah.
is a feat because like I suck ass at shooters. Okay, they're just not my thing, but and I was tempted to put it down to easy a few times. I was like, no, I'm sticking to it, and I did it. I fucking did it.
There were a good few fights where I was just banging my head against the wall. I was like, "You got to be fucking kidding me!" Um, but
There
it's like
were
overall, I really enjoyed the challenge of it. Like it felt a lot of fun. Legendary scares me. I'm gonna be 100 with you.
going back to you're talking about the collectibles and all that. There are a few times or quite a few times I went up like found the back entrance, like where you would normally should exit, coming for that, and then I just get blindsided by like the brute chieftain or like the invisible elite that just
Yo,
like
fuck
comes
them
sprinting
invisible
after.
elites, man. God damn.
Yeah, like
So
because yeah, it
go
was
ahead.
just so not I don't say frustrating, but it's just one of those like I come up to this collectible, start like capturing it, and then just blindsided by whatever enemy
I did
that's
hate
supposed to
that
be.
because it takes just too long, and then you're like, fuck, and you have to like run.
Mhm.
There was a skull that I got. I think it was in one of the end missions, and like there's this giant chasm, and it's like some you
Mhm.
find out something about the weapon, and you have to grapple shot to. There's like two doors, and you come in one side, and you're supposed to go to the other one, but you can grapple shot over to either other corner, and there's other doors. You're supposed to take a seed over, and I just kind of like figured it out. Then I looked it up, and it tells you like kind of what to do next. I didn't read too far. I just wanted to make sure that I hadn't missed it, and so. I get to the point and I can see the skull in a room just on the ground. And the game had beaten the ever living shit out of me with a sword in the back of the head so many times that I was like, this is a trap. I threw I did the homing sensor thing. There was four of them little shits with the
Oh
sword
my
just all like
gosh.
waiting for me to walk into the room. And I was like, big brain
I
shit.
think
Just
I
started
think I
chucking
actually
grenades.
saw that room because
Yeah,
that's
you
because
can
you can
see it.
see
There's a
it from the
window.
outside.
Yeah.
Yes.
I
I'm
think we
like, what the
saw
heck?
one Brett, aka Jim Tasty, look into the room in his final Halo
Yep.
Infinite campaign stream. And yeah, I had a thought where I was like, I bet you there's something in there. So there's a skull in there. Cool, that's good to know.
Yeah.
But also, fuck, I'm doing that on easy.
For oh,
Dude,
imagine that on legendary.
I went hunting around the room like 5 times trying to find more grenades because I had like 2 left that I needed to kill, and I was not walking in there.
And that's, I think, just kind of the beauty of it is like looking at any situation, and I mean it's like you think about like the strongholds, which is one of my favorite aspects of the entire game, is going in and capturing bases where even like the objectives in most of those is like, yeah, go here, turn this thing on, or go in, blow this thing up, but having the freedom to be like, all right, do I just roll in there with a wasp, jump out with a rocket launcher, or do I kind of like sneak around the back and like grab a sword or do something like that? And there's a million ways to tackle almost any encounter, and it's
Weapon
I love that
variants.
about the game. Ah,
Oh
weapon
yeah.
variants are so cool.
I
Here's a pro
always
tip
I
for
always
anyone that
start. Hold on. I always
yeah,
start with just barreling in there. That's always my
Yeah.
first thing.
Yep.
straight
I
in.
just
Oh
sprint
yeah,
in there.
Full
absolutely.
send.
Because
Let's see where everybody's at.
Exactly.
I did the same thing where I'm like, you know what, I'm the chief, I'm running in, and then I get dick stomped, and I go, cool, not doing that again.
Fusion coil to the face.
Oh
The
yeah,
point where you first meet the hunters in that little like dome thing or the circular thing,
yeah.
I just jumped in there without any care. I was just like looking around, and then I'm like, what the? no! And then, and then I see the other one walk around. I'm like, okay, it's over.
Well,
You got me this time.
shout out to the AI in this game though too, and I think of this specifically because of the hunters, which you now have to use a completely different tactic to kill hunters than you did in any previous games because they changed the behaviors of the hunters because you can no longer bait out the melee and get behind them and shoot them in the back like you
I
have
thought
to.
it was harder.
You have to approach that completely differently.
And now there's always two of them.
What I found out, there's always two of them, and what I found is that actually going for headshots is kind of the best way to take care of it. My best friend against hunters, and I didn't find this out until way late in the game, was skewer headshots. They take like 2 or
really?
3 of them, but
Okay.
they'll go down. Yeah, so
That
there you go.
exploding
But they also have this
skewer.
beautiful new mechanic to where when one hunter dies, the other one goes into rage mode.
Yeah, and just hunt your ass down like he owes you. You owe him money. Like just beats your ass.
His entire attack pattern changes. It gets faster. Like he'll start like rapid firing shit.
The
I was
burst
not
shots,
prepared
yeah.
for that. Yeah.
I didn't find out the skewer thing until you get to those like challenge rooms near the end, where it's
Uh-huh.
like kind of like your like boot camp, whatever, and then whatever.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That's when I discovered the skewer thing, and I was like, God damn it! why do I know
that
this?
sucks.
Fuck.
Because
Because that's like
Austin,
the last pair of hunters I think you fight in the game
Let me-
too.
let me tell you, the variant, because they have these weapon variants in the game, and the variant for the skewer makes it them
Blows.
explosive. They're explosive rounds for the skewer.
It's one of the earlier ones you can get in the game too, which is really, really neat. And yeah, pro tip: once you have the exploding skewer and the Razorback available at your fobs, load that bitch up with Marines
so
all
bad.
carrying explosive skewers. Because Marine, again, shout out to the AI in this game where Marines will fucking hold their own in this game. They are lethal. And
Yeah.
so there's a
I
point in the
killed so
game.
many of them on accident.
Oh yeah, they are so stupid. They jump in
Because
front
they
of
also
every
like to
car.
stand directly under the vehicles that I'm dropping. I've murdered a lot of Marines.
I was just honking at them to get on the fucking car or whatever I was driving for so
Get
long.
it? Yeah.
I just run them over. I'm done. I'm done with you.
You know what? Screw you.
If I can't have you, no one can.
But it's like I did there's a point where you have to go capture like 4 towers to get the Forerunner sequence to get into the
Yep.
spires that
That's-
starts
yeah,
the
the
final sequence of the
sequence.
game. And I for one of those towers, I think it was like the final one. I was like, you know what, let's do this, and I loaded up a Razorback full of exploding skewer Marines, and I rolled them. And there were hunters outside the last one that I did,
Yeah.
dead instantly, gone. It
Really?
didn't even fucking matter. Those Marines shredded them.
Chris is on the hood of the Warthog or whatever, just freaking dancing.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm ghost riding the whip while they're blowing up everything's behind me, man. It's fucking incredible.
And
I
use
loved it, man.
the I think it's called the Riven Mangler.
Yeah.
That was
What's-
the weapon
what's
I
about
probably used
that
the
one?
most. I believe it's upgraded power, accuracy, and lowered recoil, but you have less ammo. Less ammo
I
capacity.
believe it's 6 shots instead of 8, and then also holds
I think
less.
it's still 8, but it just holds overall. Like I think it only
Oh, okay.
holds like 48 shots total. So
I'm stupid. So what's the difference between the two?
uh-oh. Hello?
Sorry about that. Discord decided it didn't like us. Austin, you were saying something about you're stupid.
What are the difference between the two gravity hammers? Because I don't know what they are. Do we know? There's like the variant or whatever.
I
Oh
don't
yeah,
know what-
so you can get Eshrom's gravity hammer after
Oh,
he
yeah.
dies. Like
Yep.
you can pick it up and use it, and I believe it's just more powerful.
But there's also the guy
It
that you
had
have
a
to go.
wider.
The
area of
HVT.
effect.
That had
Was there an
that.
HVT one that I don't remember?
Yeah,
there's
but
like-
I
there's a
don't-
I
white
can
one.
look it up.
Yeah.
I don't
That's
remember
what I'm talking
what the difference was. I didn't use it very
I
much
can
because
look
I was
that
all
up.
about the. If I wanted to melee, I always picked up the duelist sword because it's faster.
Sure, but I remember I saw
Mangler.
the white. I saw the white gravity hammer, and I'm like, "Ooh, that's white. That's different." So I grabbed it, and I was just like, "Bang!" And I'm like, "It looks the same."
Feels like yeah. Yeah,
It's just the same.
most of the variants are pretty minimal in terms of differences. The laser like was a big one. It fires faster, kills faster, but also runs out of ammo quicker.
Oh yeah, that one was
But
fire.
that
so-
thing melts people, dude.
Yeah.
I love that one. Or even like
Sentinel
the battle
beam, yeah.
rifle has like less ammo but has higher power. Actually the variant pistol, that thing fucks, dude. 'Cause it's
Yeah,
got more
that-
stopping power. That thing is
The
nasty.
long shot assault rifle.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, less
I-
spread.
I always rocked the different BR and the different what were they called? The variant of the BR and the sniper
Mhm.
rifle, the one that had the 10 shots and it had the wider reticles, like the
Yeah.
shorter range. Oh, it was like the
Yeah.
perfect like range to like
It was
walk
like
up on
the
somebody.
buckshot for the shotgun.
I think
Like-
the reason I struggle with these games is the way I play them because I don't main any weapon. Like I literally just sprint through as soon as I'm out of ammo, I grab another one and I just
In
sprint.
Halo, you
Like,
kind of
That's how they.
can.
that's just what I do. That's just what I do.
That's by
How I play.
design in
supposed to.
Halo.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
that's by design in Halo, and I mean it's like when I say like these are the weapons I use, is these are the weapons I started encounters with is kind of a better way
Exactly. Yep.
to put it. Although something that I really liked about Infinite in particular was ammo canisters for the first time in the
Oh
Yeah.
yeah,
series,
yeah.
and so you
Helps
could
so
kind
much
of
with boss encounters.
yeah, really great for boss catches, and also it did kind of allow you like if there's like at least like one gun that you really like, there's a decent chance that like throughout the base or the level or whatever that you'll be able to find more ammo for it,
Mhm.
which is cool. Kind of shook things up a little bit. So if you're like, wow, I really like this pistol, there's probably an ammo for it somewhere, and like if you can hold on to it, and I really like that. As far as the balance of the weapon goes. Too, they did the same thing that the Bungie ones, or actually they did a different thing than the Bungie ones do, to where weapons are balanced differently for campaign than they are for multiplayer, which is
I was
something
wondering.
that I really
The
like
Scargun.
as a big like Halo esports fan. I like having a kit that's built specifically for multiplayer combat, but that might necessarily translate towards a campaign. And I think they really leaned into to where things like the pulse carbine are actually legitimately very good in the
Yeah.
campaign.
Okay.
Where they are not in multiplayer, or even like I found myself using the plasma pistol a couple times, which is hot booty trash in multiplayer, uh, and stuff like that. And so that just having just about every weapon be viable in campaign also just made it more like for me it's like shit, this thing's out of ammo, I'm just gonna grab whatever's nearby and I'm gonna make it
Yep.
work, because you probably can, and so that's also
my
really fun.
my weapon of choice, I'm lame, is probably just the original pistol. But I would always grapple hook the power canisters, the bombs,
Yes,
whatever.
Yeah.
That was
the
probably
cube,
Yep.
my number one weapon. Was just whatever was there, throwing it.
And now
affectionately known by the community as the noob cube.
Noob cube. That's
those things are in
I'm all about
multiplayers.
that.
That thing is in multiplayer, and it is the best.
Oh yeah,
You could just
it really is the best, and there's so many of them in the
yeah.
campaign. They're
Also,
everywhere.
we cannot go through the spoilercast without talking about the Grunts lines. They
Yes.
make me laugh
Yes.
so hard.
Yeah, dude, some of the best.
Do you
Some of
guys
the
do you
best
guys
still
stuff ever.
remember?
there?
Do you guys remember any of your favorite lines? Because I have at least one, and it's not
No,
So they
necessarily
all
a
came.
line so much as a really great moment, but still.
So I had a couple moments where like they would just like belittle me after they killed me, like, "Oh, you weren't that
Yep.
tough,"
Like,
or
oh,
like shit
that's
like that.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, but I feel like all of them did that. But the grunts had such a way of saying it. But there was a couple lines that like I walked up on a couple grunts and they were clearly having a conversation that I walked into the middle of, and it was
And just
the
listen to
funniest
them. Yeah.
shit. Yeah. Oh yeah, you
Yeah.
just sit there and like you have like your battle rifle trained on their head, like waiting for that grunt birthday party, and you just have to listen to the rest of the conversation.
Yeah. I heard one of them being like, "Hey, do you?" It's like, "Are you sure we should keep going with this whole kill all the humans thing?" It's like, still like it's really good.
There
There's
honestly even the
a
propaganda
really
towers too.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
I love to just sit there and listen to the propaganda towers for a minute or two before I blow them up. Voiced by the one and only Joe Staten, by the way, who is the director of the game, I believe.
Okay, I was
Huh.
gonna say I should know that name.
Which that's a big callback as well because he voiced some of the grunts in the original Combat
Oh, okay.
Evolved, and so that's a cool little throwback there.
I
Uh,
don't I don't have like a surefire line, but there was one clip that I saw where they're like doing the thing
you
where like, are
there?
you? They're like, yeah, are you still there? And then he runs out of the like off like he jumps over something and he has the cube or the noob cube or whatever, and you just hear him go, boom.
Yeah. I was about to bring that up because I love the line to it because I heard it in the game once too, to where he's like, "Spartan, you still there? You still mad?" It's so good.
In this
And
one
he's like,
though,
"Oh no!" Yeah,
yeah,
he
yeah,
hits
that
him with the hammer. Yeah.
exactly. It was just timed perfectly. Just he's just in the air with the cube. No!
Didn't
My favorite thing that I've seen in game too, and this is both like a shout out to the grunts being hilarious, but also fantastic AI moment to where I'm up in one of like the Jackal sniper towers, right?
Mhm.
I'm attacking. I think it was a base, and I hear one grunt yell like "Die, you jerk face!" and a brute goes "Grunt, fight in silence." And I'm sitting there laughing for a second, and then I'm looking down and I see the brute. It's like the grunt pulls out dual plasma grenades, and then the brute throws him at me.
Uh-huh.
He launches this grunt up into this tower that I'm at, and I hear the grunt like as he's getting closer go, "Oh no 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 no!" as he's like coming closer.
I did
was like, "This is the
experience that.
funniest game I've ever seen in my life."
I did not notice that they are thrown by a brute, but I did notice one flying at me saying, "No, no, 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 no." And I was like, "Cool."
I'd also seen one where Grunt pulled out the plasma grenades, and I heard him go, "Oh no, I didn't mean to turn these on."
I love those. My favorite thing to do if there's a low amount of enemies is when they start running at you, just run. Just run around until they explode.
What are you gonna do? You can throw them, bro.
Like, yeah, you don't have to run at me, you know.
now that we're talking about this, I'm reminded of a clip I saw on Twitter where it might have been Joe Staten was talking about how all of the lines had to be like the perfectly timed scream lines, where no matter what you cut, where you cut it off, it sounds funny.
That's
So
incredible.
and so like all of the lines, like they went through and they like cut them off at certain like random points, and they were like all equally funny.
That's
Which I
awesome.
find
So they recorded those a bunch of times then. That's wild.
Well, no, like just the things that they're saying, like the
Or
no,
they
no,
or
no,
they
no,
would
no.
just like time it so that way it's like it's hilarious if you cap them before they finish it or something.
Yeah, which like to have the foresight to know like they're gonna get halfway through this line and they might have already been headshotted. We got to make this funny, and like it just works so well.
There are a few
And-
things I want to get into, unless you have something that you want to
No,
bring
go
up,
ahead.
but that, like strictly narrative wise, like I really enjoyed the pilot. He has the name reveal near the
Echo
end,
216.
but he has his actual name reveal right at the end. I could have swore,
I can't remember what it is off the top
Yeah.
of my head.
but it's there, right?
Javier,
Yeah,
right?
I didn't
he
make
says
that
it
up?
right
Okay.
right at the end because Cortana's like, "I don't think we ever learned your name. We keep
Officially
calling you
met,
Christine
yeah.
all the time." Yeah.
And at that point, I think she was still the weapon, but yes.
Mhm.
I really enjoyed him. I saw some blowback on Twitter about him being annoying or something, and I was like,
Fernando Esparza.
Thank you.
Thank you. I was like, I don't think we played the same game. Like he might have been my favorite aspect of the game that I didn't expect.
Mhm.
Which, like that opening thing, like literally the first cutscene, and
Oh,
then
yeah.
it pans around and he's still watching it.
Got a
I
beard
was like,
hair.
that set the tone for me. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, all right, well,
It,
this is where we're going. I love
And
that.
just the joy
What,
when Chief turns on.
Yeah.
so good. He's like, "Yes, we're going
And then you
home."
see that he has the one bullet is the only there's only one bullet in the gun he
That
gives
scene is
Chief,
so dope too.
and like you get why, and it's like fuck, dude. Oh,
Yeah, it was
so
dark.
good. Yeah.
One of my favorite
Oh.
scenes in the game though too, and I'm glad you brought that up, is learning that, and I almost wish that this wasn't that this was in a cutscene and it wasn't just dialogue like while you're out like running around, but immediately after you finish the Pelican Down segment, which is probably like my second favorite part of the entire
Yeah.
the entire game. One, because part of that was what they used as the initial E3 reveal, and that was very fun. I love seeing how things change from their initial reveals and stuff. But also, you get that fantastic point where Echo's like, "Dude, I'm not like you. I can't do this." And Chief has a whole thing talking about it. It's like, look, we all fail sometimes. It's what makes us human, which kind of like the dichotomy between whether like how much of a human is Chief actually is a big part of Halo's narrative, which was really, really cool.
Without knowing any of the Halo lore, I do have a theory about that I can get into. After
Yeah,
we talk
but
about it.
like immediately at following that scene though, like once you start the capture or fob or whatever, like the weapon and the pilot will start talking to each other, and like you learn that he's not military. He's a civilian contractor that came to work on things, and so it's just like that exchange like completely like recontextualizes everything. You know, of course he'd be afraid. Of course, like he didn't ask to be here. He was just on the Infinity when it got attacked, and like that I thought was really 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 great, and again just kind of like the perfect like opposite of the Chief to be able to kind of bounce off and have those really cool interactions with, and I liked that a lot. And then I mean, you know, because you had that really heartfelt scene together when Eshram kidnaps him later, I was like, "Fuck you, bitch! I'm coming for you now.
Yeah.
You got my
Yeah.
boy."
And Chief was like that too. Like Chief was like, "We're gonna go get him." Like,
Yeah.
like it was just like basically beelining it.
No ifs, ands, or
In
buts.
that,
He's like, I'm
Because
gonna go rescue him.
that was right after, like, or during the midst of like when the weapon and Chief were like butting heads too, and then they're like,
Yeah.
dropped it, made up,
yes. And
let's go get him.
narrative wise, I loved that because as they were still like at each other's teeth and at their necks, like that thing brought them together with no
Yeah.
discussion. It was
Yeah.
just kind of like, oh, he's in trouble, and they're
Yeah,
like,
we have a
fuck,
common goal.
fuck our issues right now. We're gonna go save him. Like I loved that. That was great.
Which again, I think is a really great way of pivoting like the future of where Halo is going without necessarily ignoring like some of the things that they did in previous games. Is I just love that like Chief's not willing to trust the weapon because of his things with Cortana. He's got the failsafe ready and all that ready to blow her up. But that also gave me another one of my favorite lines in the game where like shortly after Chief tries to delete the weapon, you end up fighting the monitor boss again, and like extra enemies pop up and the weapon goes, oh look, he brought some friends. You hear that, Chief?
Yeah.
He has friends.
I
Yeah.
I love that line.
I died
was
a
like,
lot
oh
during
yeah,
that boss
I
fight.
love you, weapon. You're great.
As
Yeah.
I'm playing,
So I
this, I'm
died a
like,
lot,
I
so I
deserve
heard
this.
that line a lot.
I deserve this. This
Never
is my
got old
fault.
though.
He's like,
Yeah.
yep, oops. Um,
What were you saying,
Yeah.
Austin?
That as I was playing that level, and she said that line, I was just kind of like, "Yep, that I deserve this." Like,
Oh,
keep
okay,
laying it
okay.
on me.
oh yeah.
I deserve this.
I did just want to shout out the passwords that he uses to activate the failsafe. One of them is Samuel. Samuel is actually one of the original Spartan 2s who died in the Fall of Reach novel. He was Chief's like best friend while they were in training, and he was the first Spartan to die as like on a mission. And so
Damn,
that
okay.
was a nice little touch.
I
I really
knew those.
appreciated that.
I knew they had to have some significance, but I didn't know what it was. That's awesome.
Yeah, that was one of Chief's teammates.
I can't even fathom Chief having friends.
I
Wait,
mean, in
this
Halo
is-
Five,
Just get
like
him in
you
Halo
get to
5.
see you get
I
to
didn't play
like
Halo 5.
well, and so I don't like Halo 5. I did say that this feels like the first sequel to Halo 3. I did like Halo 4. It just didn't feel like this game does, and like in the
Yeah.
same vein. The one part about Halo 5 that I did really enjoy was getting to see him with Blue Team, which is like the people he came up with. The issue I had
Ellie and
with
Fred.
Halo, yeah, the issue I had with it was that I loved it so much, but the game was about Locke, and like that's
Yeah.
what really like drove me nuts. Is like there's so much good here, and like so, but I'm not getting to spend the time with this. Anyway,
And
I digress.
I also appreciate it that they do name drop Blue Team
Mhm.
in one of the audio logs, which is also something that I really wanted to talk about. And Alec, I'm glad that you kind of like mentioned where it's like, hey, I played this game the same way that I approached Breath of the Wild. I think there's a lot of Breath of the Wild's DNA within this game, just in the way that it's very open. It's a little almost like serene at parts, and you do have the freedom to kind of tackle things in
Give us a
whatever
photo
sort of
mode,
way that you
please.
want to. We need a photo mode, dear
It
God.
felt like
Um,
Halo Ghost of Tsushima.
Yeah, but something
Yeah.
that I really liked, and I know it's not everyone's taste, but I like that there is a time gap between Halo 5 and this one, including
Mhm.
the 6 months from the opening cutscene to where we see Chief again. And I loved the audio logs. Like more than anything else,
Yes.
I honestly really loved the idea of being like, hey, you're waking up six months later. You have no idea what the fuck's happened, and you can get all of that context by going out and finding these audio logs throughout the game. And it's a cool way to kind of give you more background on everything else that's happening outside of what's going on Zeta Halo without it sort of interrupting like the main narrative thread of the game. And
Mhm.
my favorites, there's a because they do kind of have like collections of audio logs that all revolve around certain people. And so my favorite ones were the ones that followed Captain Lasky, who features
Yep.
pretty heavily in 4 and 5. And it's them like on board the Infinity, like right as the banners start attacking, and they do mention you do hear Halsey a couple times. Chief himself is in it. They name drop Locke and Blue Team and a couple others, and so they do
Yep.
mention that it's like, hey, they're off somewhere else right now. They're on another mission, and I was like, good. I'm glad that they're not kind of putting away everything, and that we could potentially see them in the future, which would be, I think, really great. Having this like really perfect like persona of the Chief, kind of getting to see his friends again. Yes.
Have you seen the stills from the two brute Spartan hunters? And one of them has Locke's helmet on his shoulder. And the
Yes.
theories about him like ditching his Spartan gear and like he's still alive, but like he's not rocking Spartan gear anymore.
Which would be very interesting.
Yeah, like low-key, I do want this character to come back and for me to fall in love with him. I think differentiating him from Chief in that way and just it would be so good.
Yeah.
Um,
I think Locke is a great character who got done dirty by a bad game.
yeah,
And also, I mean, you got to bring back Buck, man.
yes,
I need more Nathan Fillion.
yes.
You know,
Shoot, there was something to do. It doesn't matter. I'll come back to me. I forgot.
It's all
So
good.
anytime I heard that beeping for the audio logs, I had to stop immediately what I was doing and find where it was. Use the
Yeah, I was like,
scan.
scan. Yeah, I was like, where is it? I can hear it.
So
I really like that.
I
Yep.
remembered so I really it was a moment for me in the game where I was like picking up these audio logs. I couldn't wait to hear what was next. But in that first part of the game, you're picking up so many different ones from different collections. And I kept hoping it'd be the one following Spartan Griffin because that was like the
Very
first one that
interesting.
I like got into. And then finding him after I'd been listening to his story and then finishing his story after he had passed, like for me, like that may have been like one of the best executed like collectibles into main story back in like it just was like flawless and I like cared more about his story because like of the relationship it was clear him and Chief had like as he
Yeah.
was passing about like their brothers in arms or whatever and so like it automatically made me care about this character so much more that I already cared about.
And I like that too because it's like it's not necessarily like you don't have to have heard all of those to still get to that moment where you find Spartan Griffin and
I had heard like
realize those
two.
things. Like yeah. So it's like even if you get to that point without hearing any of the audio logs, you can at least pick up on the little things there. But I think that does a great job of kind of expanding that and giving it more emotional resonance. And I also just wanted to shout it out again, kind of compare it once more to Breath of the Wild, where I think one of the terms that I had constantly bouncing around in my head while I was playing was visual storytelling.
Mhm.
Just in the environment, you might even call it environmental storytelling, just in the way where it's like it's been months that since like the UNSC have been here and have been fighting against the Banish and trying to keep them from taking over Zeta Halo, and so everywhere in a lot of these places there are the audio logs and stuff. Like I just love kind of like going up the side of a mountain or something and finding a little camp and there's a sniper rifle right there and you can kind of pick up like bits and
Mhm.
pieces of little things that have happened around or dropping down into a ditch and seeing just dead enemies everywhere and then lone Spartan also dead but leaning up against that. I saw one where he's holding a screwdriver and there's like elites around him everywhere.
What?
I was
Oh,
like, that's the
John
coolest
jeez.
Wick.
fucking thing I've ever
John
seen in my
Wick
life.
reference.
Yeah.
So simple, but the coolest imagery. Like you see like the aftermath of the battle and the dopest thing. Like that, it's so fucking cool when you come
Yeah.
across those.
And so just a really cool way to reinforce the idea that it's like, hey, this struggle has been happening a long time, and you can see the aftermath of all of that. But then also just a really great way to reinforce like the character of the Master Chief, where I love where there's a couple times where the weapon asks like how do you keep doing these things? And it's like it's the only thing I know how to do, and you can feel the weight of him constantly having to deal with all of these things. And I think at one point she asked him, it was like, what would you do if you didn't have to do this? And he goes, I don't know. Where
Yeah, yeah,
where where it's like wartime's all war is all I know how to do because I mean he's literally a child soldier.
yeah.
That's all he's ever done.
And she just asked all of the right questions to like really like solidify who he is because Cortana had been with him so long it was just the norm. And
Yeah.
then also having this be like so many people's first Halo getting they also kind of have these questions about like where he came from, why is he this way or whatever and like getting that depth of character just to aid your point. Yes, Austin from Waypoint.
Just to
We
piggyback
have
off
shared
that,
streams.
we're whoops. Just to piggyback off that, I think there was a good like one of the notes out like that I would put into a review if I were to review Halo is that sometimes with a long franchise you need someone to play the audience. And I thought they did a good job of balancing that role with the pilot and with the weapon
Yes.
Yeah.
because it
Yeah.
wasn't like the pilot is just the audience. He has his own story and it's heartbreaking, and so does the weapon. And you understand why like there's depth there with Chief, and both of them piggyback to help and be the audience, but not all as one character. And then because usually if you have it as one character, that character might be funny, but they're kind of wasted. Like that is
Yeah.
their
Yeah.
entire identity, and they did so with both the weapon and the pilot. And I thought that was brilliant. I loved it.
Mhm.
But
Yeah. Yeah.
the writing team, the writing team
Managed
for
to
this.
contextualize it for new people without sacrificing the characters that they are. Again, it's a beautiful balancing act, which I think the entire game kind of is. It's one of those things to where I do want to start wrapping up here in just a
Yep.
minute. But I mean it's like you guys kind of all mentioned earlier. It feels like I'm a teenager again. I'm taken straight back to 2007, 2008, like 7th, 8th grade, whatever. I played this game until about 5 a.m. for like 3 days in a row. Like just to play the campaign. I was like thoroughly hooked, and like despite like maybe like a real minor qualm like here or there, I really do think that just about everything in this game hits. It does what it does well. It knows what it is, and has a really really great story to tell without being like too wordy about it. This is a game that prefers to show rather than tell, which I really really like.
which
And
is which is a feat. Sorry, but it's a
yeah,
feat because they had a lot to bring to the table to not only say where they're going, but where they are in between like 5 and now or whatever.
yeah,
And doing that with such little words, like you said, is not easy. And the writing team fucking killed it.
Yeah.
So.
yeah.
Like I want to. So I know you wanted to wrap up. Like
That's all
the
good.
reveal. I'm saying kind of like to transition to that. To kind of talk towards more the ending. That reveal of when the weapon realizes that she was a copy of Cortana broke me. Like when the snapping, like when she like snapped and like that, it just clicked for her all of a sudden.
The snapping had become such a part of her character that I was like, that's going to be it. And I was so happy. Like, it was just like in the back of my head. I hadn't fully realized it until she kept doing it in that scene. And I feel like it was such a beautiful, like, all of us kind of like had it in the back of our heads that snap is something. And then it flashes back to all the times Cortana snapped. So good.
What's crazy about that moment is for me, it's like I don't know whether I just read like some kind of fan theory or if I actually had it spoiled for me, but I went into the game knowing that she was a copy of Cortana. Like somehow I'd had that information. I don't remember where I read or saw it or where they came, but the thing is that it didn't. That moment was so well that the emotional resonance of her realizing that she is a copy of Cortana hit so hard that it wasn't the reveal that got me. It was her reaction to that, and seeing her question is like, am I going to become like that? Because that's like seconds after you see her destroy Estrom's homeworld.
Yeah.
And kill hundreds of Spartans on that space station. She's like, that's not going to be me, is it? And just like the desperation in her voice. Like, shout out to Jen Taylor for voicing 3 characters in this game and doing them all so well.
Yeah.
So distinctly.
There was multiple times where like the weapon has just talked. We're watching something with Halsey and then Cortana's in it. And the whole scene is more or less her, but it's different people. And it's just like the same, like, that these are all supposed to be Halsey, but I totally agree.
And then I do have to, like as sort of like a final point, unless y'all have anything else you want to say. I think this was the perfect send off for Cortana as well. And I know that's not the general vibe of it. There's some people that don't like that. It's like that the game starts with like, hey, Cortana's dead, and they just kind of don't explain that. I actually love that it kind of gets shown to you as the game goes rather than explaining it right at the beginning.
Weird ASMR segments.
But I really liked that moment though too of seeing Cortana like realizing the mistakes and like what she has to do, and that one final sacrifice that she makes for Chief, and then even has like a little recording to say goodbye, and then allow the weapon to kind of come up and be the new Cortana and take her place in the future. I really like that. I don't know, maybe that's just me.
No, I love
I'm
it.
a big old fanboy, so
yeah, Jennifer kept coming in and asking me if I was okay during the multiple times during
it
the game.
shook me, man.
Yeah.
Ending of that game is very emotional.
What's up, Austin?
Yes, Austin.
I have questions about the ending. So
yes,
when we see Atriox, and like he's pretty much not in this game. And have we all seen the legendary ending? Or have
yes.
I just watched it before I
googled that shit like
immediately.
Yeah, same.
But I have a theory about that. Do we want to go into that, or because that might lead us down a rabbit hole, and I don't know.
We can talk about it post podcast, I think, because there are some things that I want to discuss, and it's like I'll save the legendary ending for people that want to go see it. I won't necessarily like discuss it here, or maybe it'll even come up in a future video or something. But
I would like to talk about this in a future video as well.
That'd be fun.
Just for the listeners, we haven't forgotten about you.
That'd be fun. I'd really enjoy that. Final thoughts, everybody. You liked it? Didn't like it? Game of the year? What are you feeling?
A solid 9 out of 10.
Solid 9 out of 10.
I think it saved Halo.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so much better than what I said. So much better. Yeah.
Halo's back and stronger than ever. I'm gonna go ahead and put my foot down right here, and this might be a very very hot take, but I think this is the best game in the series on almost all fronts. Slammed his foot down, bro. I think they nailed the multiplayer. I think they nailed the campaign. There's honestly, it's like I have one like tiny little gripe that I'm sure is probably going to come with the future expansion, because I get the feeling rather than like a whole new game, I believe the intention is that they're just going to add story DLCs to this game and keep the story of Infinite going.
Yeah.
So it's like I'm kind of fine with some things being unexplained and open-ended, and I'm excited to see more of that. So yeah, that's the official RoboPack 92 stance. Halo Infinite, best Halo game in the series. 343 nailed it. Halo is back, and I couldn't be happier about it. Thank you guys so much for watching. This has been Shared Screen's spoilercast of Halo Infinite. We will see you at the next screen. I don't know.
I was so curious what you're gonna say.